Adverbs of frequency. Adverbs of frequency.
Adverbios de frecuencia.
Always.
Siempre.
Usually.
Usualmente.
Normally. Generally.
Normalmente. Generalmente.
Often. Frequently.
A menudo. Frecuentemente.
Sometimes.
Algunas veces.
Occasionally.
Ocasionalmente.
Seldom.
Pocas veces.
Hardly ever. Rarely.
Casi nunca. Rara vez.
Never.
Nunca.
Frequency adverbs with percentages. 100%. Always. 90%. Usually. 80%. Normally, generally. 70%. Often, frequently. 50%. Sometimes. 30%. Occasionally. 10%. Seldom. 5%. Hardly ever, rarely. 0%. Never. Frequency adverbs with percentages. Example sentences. 100%. Always. I always go to bed before 11 p.m. 90%. Usually. I usually have cereal for breakfast. 80%. Normally, generally. I normally go to the gym. 70%. Often, frequently. I often surf the internet. 50%. Sometimes. I sometimes forget my wife's birthday. 30%. Occasionally. I occasionally eat junk food. 10%. Seldom. I seldom read the newspaper. 5%. Hardly ever, rarely. I hardly ever drink alcohol. 0%. Never. I never swim in the sea. Adverbs of frequency. We can use adverbs of frequency to say how often we do something. I always go to the cinema at the weekend. She usually has cereal for breakfast. They sometimes watch TV in the evenings. We never go to museums. How to use them. Always means every time. Usually means most times. Sometimes means a small number of times. Never means no times. She always practices the piano in the evenings. Every day. We usually go to the park on Sundays. Most Sundays. They sometimes make a cake. Just for special days. He never forgets his homework. No times. The position of the adverb in a sentence. We usually put the adverb before the verb. An adverb of frequency goes before a main verb, except with to be. Subject plus adverb plus main verb. She always does her homework after school. I usually have cereal for breakfast. I always remember to do my homework. He normally gets good marks in exams. The position of the adverb in a sentence. If the verb is to be, we put the adverb after the verb. Subject plus to be plus adverb. They are never pleased to see me. She isn't usually bad-tempered. They are usually on holiday in July. He is sometimes late for school. The position of the adverb in a sentence. To ask a question, use often or how often. Does she play football often? How often do you play computer games? The position of the adverb in a sentence. When we use an auxiliary verb, have, will, must, might, could, would, can, etc., the adverb is placed between the auxiliary and the main verb. This is also true for to be. Subject plus auxiliary plus adverb plus main verb. She can sometimes beat me in a race. I would hardly ever be unkind to someone. They might never see each other again. They could occasionally be heard laughing. The position of the adverb in a sentence. We can also use the following adverbs at the start of a sentence: usually, normally, often, frequently, sometimes, occasionally. Occasionally, I like to eat Thai food. But we cannot use the following at the beginning of a sentence: always, seldom, rarely, hardly, ever, never. The position of the adverb in a sentence. We use hardly ever and never with positive, not negative verbs. She hardly ever comes to my parties. They never say thank you. We use ever in questions and negative statements. Have you ever been to New Zealand? I haven't ever been to Switzerland. The same as I have never been Switzerland. Do you want to practice using adverbs of frequency in English? I always do my homework after school. Every day. He never goes swimming. He can't swim. We sometimes have pizza for dinner. Just once a week. They usually watch TV in English. They love it. I never talk to strangers. It's a really bad idea. She always goes to the park on Sundays. Every Sunday. We usually get up at 7:00. Every day except the weekend. I never have cereal for breakfast. I don't like it. Do you want to practice using adverbs of frequency in English? How often do you have toast for breakfast? How often do you go to the park in the rain? How often do you get up before 7 o'clock? How often are you late for school? How often do you watch TV in the evening? Happy learning. Thank you for watching.